I was fortunate enough to meet the creator of She Remembered Caterpillars and CEO of developer Jumpsuit Entertainment, Daniel Goffin, at Gamescom last year, and apart from clearly being a very talented man, he must be smarter than I, since this game is fucking hard. She Remembered Caterpillars is a puzzle game in essence, but it's a puzzle game that's wrapped in beautifully drawn graphics and a rather abstract little story. I'd usually class games like this as a treat, but considering the intense mental focus needed in later levels, I'd call She Remembered Caterpillars a journey. To begin with, the basic objective for each level is to take these small, large-headed mushroom people and place them on these flower-like pads so they can ascend to the heavens. Connecting the tile-based islands are caterpillar bridges that will only allow certain coloured people through, like the segregating bastards that caterpillars are. Furthermore, there are wiggly archways that wiggle in the way of people the same colour as themselves, blocking their movement through. As with many puzzle games, the premise is rather simplistic, but unravelling complex layouts crafted by Mr. Goffin towards the end of the game can take up to an hour at some points. Or maybe I'm just that dim. Soon enough, you'll discover that two of these bobble-headed peeps can bump heads and mix into one colour, spawning an entirely new person, which I'm 99% sure is how babies are made. Interestingly enough, these characters can cross bridges of either composite character's colour that they're made up of, but those tricksy wiggly arches will still bar a mixed character if either composite colour matches that of the archway. Later on in the game, you're presented with buttons that activate fully accessible bridges that any character of any colour can move across, and there's even a mechanic that allows you to strip the little fungi of their colourful mycelium so they're just white and they can pass through any gate. What do you know, those crazy racists had a point. I guess white is right. The story progresses through little pre-level vignettes, but don't worry, I'm not going to ruin it for you. I don't know if some will call this a spoiler, but I'll mention that the entire premise is death and the acceptance of death. To begin with, the link between the little mushroom people you march about on floating islands and the mortality of us all is a little unclear, to say the least. Many will say that it's a detriment to the game that the unnecessary narrative and gameplay seem to be worlds apart in the earlier levels. I say unnecessary since She Remembered Caterpillars is a puzzle game, a genre which is usually devoid of fiction. I mean, Tetris wasn't an allegory for the existence of the working class designed into specific niche roles to overcome a greater task at the completion of which they simply fade away, right? But I do have to give credit to Monsieur Daniel for what is an exceptional piece of writing that matches well enough to the puzzles at hand that the entire endeavour of the game mirrors the struggle of the characters existing outside of the game world. And while I'm handing out praise, kudos to Daniel for the puzzles as well. The game contains 8 acts, each one made up of several individual levels, suckering you in on the first and then kicking you right in the muffins with the consecutive 7. Seriously, I'm not a brain smart guy. I've surrendered Facebook personality quizzes before. Some reviewers have claimed that since many puzzles are rather small, you end up finding the solution simply by trying every single combination, since the moves required to complete the level are finite. And that has happened to me, perhaps once, but the rush of self-worth you receive from getting a later level correct after what can be tens of minutes of deliberation is a feeling really indescribable. I am surprised to say that She Remembered Caterpillars has really piqued my interest in puzzle games. I can confidently say without any nepotism that what Herr Daniel has created is glorious. She Remembered Caterpillars is beauty to behold, it's gripping to read through and challenging to overcome. It's taken a jaded sack of failure like me and captured my attention. The only major flaw I can find is that the game is spine-breakingly difficult later on, but that's more of my stupidity than the game's folly. And even for a puzzle novice like me, I ended up charmed by the whole thing, irregardless of the difficulty. Now that's not to say that I recommend it to those who dislike puzzle games. It's genuinely a toughie, and there's no way to reduce the difficulty. Without the proper patience, people won't really appreciate what She Remembered Caterpillars offers here. Those not adept with such a genre will definitely struggle. You will like this game if you like Fungi Punk, puzzles, and the eventual acceptance of death.